देवी सर्वभूतेषु शक्तिरूपेण संस्थिता नमस्तस्यै 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 नमो नमः।
या देवी सर्वभूतेषु शक्तिरूपेण समस्तिसा नमस्तस्यै 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 नमो नमः। Namaste. It's Pradeep again from Pramona. Ya Devi Sarvabhuteshu Shakti Rupena Samastisa. That Devi which is everywhere in the form of Shakti. Ya Devi Sarvabhuteshu Shakti Rupena Samastisa. Namastasyai, 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 namo namah. I bow down to that Shakti, that Devi, which is all around, everywhere, in the form of Shakti. Shakti is perhaps the most powerful word in Sanskrit. It is more powerful, more symbolic, more meaningful, deeper than dharma, karma, yoga, or any other word from Sanskrit literature or scriptures that I can think of. And that has been my experience on this spiritual journey. And in fact, as I look back from the time I arrived in this planet, on this earth, through my mother, the concept of understanding of Shakti, and Shakti is a concept and we'll talk about it, has become deeper and deeper and deeper. There is no literal translation of the word Shakti. It's not possible because Shakti symbolizes literally everything. Shakti is the divine goddess, the Mother Earth, the Mother herself, Janani, the entire universe, the entire manifestation, the entire creation, all of the energies, the primordial force itself is Shakti. Shakti is that which gives birth. It is the cause, it is the effect of this manifestation. It is the source. It is a womb from which everything flows and into which everything flows back. It is that which begins and that's where it ends. It is eternal. It is the feminine energy. It is not something that can be understood in terms of physical sense. Though people would say that's the feminine form. Yes, it has a feminine form because the feminine form, the female energy, is a symbol, is a manifestation of this Shakti. But Shakti is much bigger. Shakti is much more vast. In fact, it cannot be contained. It is power. It is force. It is nature. It is that which flows everywhere, like the rivers into the ocean. It is the ocean itself. It is the sky. It is the earth. It is the mountains. It is the eternal feminine energy that gives birth, that gives rise to a million, billion eternal forms of energy all around. And most importantly, the male energy, Shiva, itself manifests and comes out of this female Shakti, out of this energy. Now, the interesting thing is that Shiv and Shakti are a couple, they are a pair. And Shakti, as symbolized by Parvati, is Shiva's consort. But yet, among equals, Shakti, Parvati comes first. Because if there was no mother, if there was no creator, if there was no Janani, if there was no Shakti, there would be no Shiva. The two need to come together to create, of course, but between them, it is the Shakti. And that is what gives power to this form, this energy that I'm talking about. Whether we call it Lakshmi, Durga, Saraswati, Parvati, Kali, or any of the 108 forms and names of Shakti, of Devi, in whatever form we may worship this female energy, this female deity, it all comes down to the same thing. The ultimate primordial female feminine energy in the form of this creator, the mother. Now, each of us has experienced this Shakti energy in our life. In fact, none of us can be here without this Shakti energy. We have all come from our mother, and that mother is the Shakti, that mother is the Devi. Whether we are a male or a female, we have come from that same Shakti. So we have experienced it. We just don't realize it. We think of the mother as a physical body, someone that gave birth to us, someone from whose womb or where we were for 9 months, and then we came out, and then we started living our own life. And then she went on and she lost her physical body, and we'll continue to live a life. It is much, much, much deeper than that. In my own spiritual journey, and then after having understood the significance and the meaning of this extremely powerful concept, Shakti, as I look back, and I look back to the time I was conceived, to the time I was born, this power became very clear to me. And it was not just the manifestation of myself coming out of my mother's womb, which was a very tantric experience. But even before that, when she intentioned and she wanted me to appear, to manifest, that was a tantric moment, which I realized and understood later on in life. And that's a separate story that I will relay in a separate recording. That realization that I was part of my mother for 9 months, where she nurtured me, nourished me, took care of me, and then I come out, is amazingly beautiful. It's not just a physical act, it's not just a physical activity, it is the deepest, most symbolic aspect of life itself, of manifestation itself. It explains the very concept of Shakti, creation, how this entire universe, the entire manifestation happened from the womb of this female energy, Shakti, is understood very simply by understanding how the mother gives birth and how we come out of that process and how we are nurtured and cared and nourished for 9 months. That's the mother, that's the Shakti. In my life, right from the beginning, not just during my spiritual journey, I have been extremely fortunate to come across a number of these Shaktis in my life. Of course, as I said, starting with my mother, Ma, I had 5 sisters. They take form of these Shaktis in our lives, in the form of our mother, in the form of our sisters, in the form of our spouse, partners, in the form of our female relatives, family members, daughters and nieces and teachers and their colleagues, in whatever form, female form in our life, we are surrounded by it. But we don't realize, we don't feel that Shakti, we don't feel that energy in a spiritual sense. At most, from a male perspective, we feel some kind of a sexual attraction perhaps, if it's a non-family related person or if it's a non-blood related person. Or if we are a female, we feel some kind of a kindred from one woman to another, or perhaps jealousy. But we don't feel this sublime female divine energy. That is really what is hidden behind every Shakti, inside every Shakti's heart, in the Anahat, is full of this love, affection, nurturing, caring. We don't feel that because we are so conditioned to looking and believing and following what we are told, what we read and what we hear, that we don't allow our own chakras, we don't allow our own sensations, our own intuition to feel what is real really. As I was saying, I have been fortunate to have been surrounded and experienced various Shaktis in my life, starting with my mother, my 5 sisters, any number of nieces, my bhabis, my aunts. My mother had 6 sisters, and so on and so forth until I grew up and then got married, and my partner, my wife, my spouse, my relationships I had over the years, and all the different Shaktis that came into my life, and just created this wonderful feeling of euphoria, knowing that they were this divine energy, is a feeling that cannot be described. It cannot be put into words. It can only be experienced. And when you realize that, is when your spiritual journey takes on a different level. It's not just chanting of this beautiful mantra, Ya Devi Sarva Bhuteshu, Shakti Rupena Samastisa, Namastasye, 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 Namo Namaha. This is just one of the many aspects of that mantra, that shlok. It goes on and on and on to describe the many different aspects of Shakti, the female energy. Unfortunately, in the modern world, men have forgotten to respect, and they've forgotten to trust, and they've forgotten to show love for this female divine energy, the form which is responsible for their being, for their existence, for their manifestation on this planet and this earth, without which they cannot be. None of us can be. And men, of course, cannot be, even though they believe that they are more powerful in every way, physical, mental, definitely not emotional, but they forget that they are the outcome. They are the effect of this cause, which is the Shakti, which is the divine energy, which is the mother goddess, without which nothing is possible. So this Shakti that appears to us in different forms, in different ways, all around us, in equal ways, surrounding from the time we are born to the time we are no longer in our physical body, continues on and on and on. And it is really an unfortunate part in the last few hundred years that the modern man, the modern world has taken on a completely topsy-turvy look and a topsy-turvy attitude towards women, towards the female feminine energy. And instead of respecting and loving and caring and nurturing and nourishing, they started abusing, and they started taking advantage, and all sorts of toxic, negative attitudes and behavior started to manifest itself. And sooner or later, men are going to pay a price for that, and they are paying a price for that. As we see all around us now, as we have seen in the last few decades, in the last few centuries perhaps, really, because there is no solution, there is no alternative to the Shakti. She's the source, she's the Janani, she's the mother, she's the divine goddess. That's where everything flows from. She's the source. Everything comes from her. And if you don't show that respect, if you don't bow down to her and show your love and affection for that, if you don't take care of your mother, if you don't respect your mother, your spouse, your sisters, your siblings and your nieces, then sooner or later the universe has its own way of taking or showing what happens when that happens. And that is really what is happening in the day today in the modern world right now. Jayanti Mangala Kali Bhadrakali Kapalini Durga Shama Shiva Dhatri Swaha Swadhyaya Namastute. The Argala mantra, which paraphrases the entire Durga Saptashati, is the ultimate mantra shloka for this Devi Shakti energy that I'm talking about. Along with the Navarna mantra, Aim Rem Klim Chamundaya Viche. The Indian scriptures are replete, full of this resplendent Shakti energy in all its glory, in all different forms. It has been eulogized, it has been celebrated. It's very much part of the Indian spiritual fabric. But yet, in the day-to-day life, especially in India, it is sad to see how this is being abused, how it is being abused by the Indian male energy. But I'm not here to talk about that. I'm here to talk about the positive, nurturing aspect of the Shakti energy. Durga, Shama, Shiva, Dhatri, Swaha, Swadhyaya, Namastute. The Durga Saptashati, the Saundarya Lahari. Beautiful penned poetry by Adi Shankaracharya. These just make you cry when you recite them, when you listen to them, when you hear them. It's full of life. It's full of the energy that you can feel all around you from the Shakti energy. The Shakti energy is not unique to the female physical form. It's not unique to the feminine body. Every male has this female Shakti energy inside him. It's sitting in the form of this Kundalini in the Muladhara chakra, in the Yoni Lingam area, and waiting for it to rise up through the chakras, because it is waiting to unite with its consort, its partner, its other half, Shiva, who's residing in the Agnya chakra. And if you are fortunate enough to be in that space where your chakras are vibrating, colorful, balanced, healthy, each of them strong, each of them in synchronicity with each other, the Muladhara, the Swadhisthana, the Manipur, the Anahat, the Vishuddhi, and Agnya chakra. And if you're following your spiritual practice, where it enables this Kundalini energy, Shakti, to be nurtured and nourished, then it starts to rise up your spine, up your Susumna Nadi, until it can meet with its lover, its beloved, its consort, Shiva. That is the purpose of life itself. That, in fact, is the purpose of spirituality. For this female energy and the male energy that resides in each one of us to meet and to create this beautiful tantric experience, which is as or perhaps more powerful orgasmic experience than you can get from any other activity. It is as orgasmic as the birth itself, and it is as orgasmic as death itself. You can experience both birth and death in the rising of the Kundalini, of the Shakti energy inside you that is sitting curled up, twirled up in your Muladhara chakra, waiting to rise up. In no other culture or religion is the female energy, the Shakti, the divine goddess, worshipped as it is in India, in Hinduism. Perhaps in Christianity, Maryam, Mother Mary, Yeshua's mother, is the divine goddess. But remember, Christianity in its origin, Yeshua, had his bearings, his indoctrination, his blessings from India. And therefore, it's not surprising that there would be the same kind of a folklore surrounding his birth and about the female energy that surrounds Mother Mary, Miriam, who represents this divine goddess, this divine energy. And Virgin Mary is worshipped as an equal to Yeshua himself. But otherwise, in no other religion, in no other culture, in no other civilization, in no other part of the world is the Devi worshipped as it is in India. There are temples galore, there are places galore that are powerful, There are Shakti skulls, there are Shakti peats, centers of energy. These are centers of energy that are surrounding the female form, where you can feel it. The most important of them being the Kamakaya temple in Assam in India. It is really the origin of civilization itself, which of course started in India, that you can feel the strength and the power and the glory of the Shakti energy, which is the manifestation itself. The sad part is that the female manifestation, the modern women in the last 100 years, have lost touch with their own feminism. In the name of feminism, which became synonymous with equality, they've tried to become like men. They've actually tried to stoop down to the level of men, to the level of the masculine energy, because they felt that they were being abused and they were being mistreated. And rather than being in their own strength and their own energy, in this power that they already have inherently, they wanted to become like men. It is a sad story because, in fact, the male energy is the one that needs to rise up, to look up to the Shakti energy. And in fact, the other thing happened. The day women started wearing pants was the end of the Shakti energy, because they tried to be like men. Female, male, two opposites. They cannot be like each other. Men cannot give birth. Men cannot become pregnant. Men cannot have menstruation cycle. And yet, unfortunately, women have tried to become like men in many other aspects, including not wanting to give birth, including not wanting to become a mother, including not wanting to breastfeed. These are inherent abilities, these are the inherent characteristics that really separate them from men, and they need to celebrate that. They need to enjoy that. They need to be in that power and in that strength, rather than stooping down to the level of the male energy. Understand the importance of Shakti in the Indian culture, in Indian philosophy, in Indian spirituality. One just has to visit the 51 Shakti peats scattered all over India. Most of them, in fact, are in India, but a few of them are in the neighboring countries. These Shakti peats are centers of energy, of power, of Shakti. The myth, the story, of course, is that these locations are where different parts of Parvati's body fell as Shiva was carrying her in his arms across the heavens. But irrespective of the mythology, if you visit these places, trust me, I have been to a few of them, not all. You can palpably feel the energy over there. Of course, provided your chakras are open, you're in synchronicity with your surroundings, with your own Shakti, and you are completely relaxed and at ease. In fact, the best place perhaps is not necessarily Kamakaya, which is one of them, which unfortunately, because of its popularity and in fact because of the fact that people just do go there in droves, in the thousands, and it's really difficult to find a quiet spot, especially in the yoni, inside, in the Garbha yoni, to relax and to meditate and to connect with Shakti. But the two places that I found most powerful were the Chaunsat Yogini Tirth, the Chaunsat Yogini temples. One of them is in Khajuraho and the other one is in Orissa. You will most likely be the only person over there, which is great. One of the most powerful meditations I've done is at the Chaunsat Yogini temple in Khajuraho at sunrise. It was absolutely sublime. There are these 64 man-made kind of cubicles or caves or enclaves where 64 versions of the yogini are displayed as an altar. These are thousands of years old with a lot of history, a lot of meaning, and of course, a lot of energy. The day that man designed the chair to sit on, and of course I'm sitting on one, and the bra for the women to wear to imprison their Anahat chakra, and the tight pants and the jeans and the trousers for them to wear to imprison their Muladhara and Swadhisthana chakras, is the day that the feminine divine energy started to disappear. As I said earlier, this feminine energy is coiled up in every human being in the Muladhara chakra in the form of Kundalini. And when you imprison it in this tight, suffocating wear, it is impossible for these chakras to first of all breathe, for them to open up, leave alone to vibrate and become balanced and in synchronicity with the other chakras and with the divine energy. They become more and more blocked, giving rise to many other issues: health, emotional, physical, mental, leave alone spiritual. There's no possibility. There's absolutely no possibility of expecting to be on a spiritual journey and expecting to connect with the divine female energy if you're not wearing the right clothes. You cannot imprison your chakras in these kind of clothes. There was a reason. If you look at the Eastern culture, in the East, whether it's China, Japan, India, Indonesia, all of the Far East, the Near East, even in the Middle East, the women wear, the feminine wear was in the form of sarong, sari, kimono, gown, abaya, and so on, free-flowing, loose-fitting clothes, so that the feminine energy had the possibility, had the potential to rise up, to connect, to be balanced, to be healthy. And these started disappearing very fast. Of course, in the West, there was the frock and the dress for the most part, and gowns. And these have started to disappear again. And as I said, since the day women started donning jeans and trousers is the day that was the beginning of the Kali Yuga. It may not have been the beginning of the Kali Yuga, but it was definitely very symbolic and a very important aspect of the Kali Yuga in which we are, which of course started much, much earlier. As we have seen, it actually represents the development, the so-called civilization, the so-called development of mankind in terms of benefits and conveniences and technology and all of the other man-made trappings that we have fallen into and lost touch with our own natural ability to connect with consciousness and the higher self. A perfect example of understanding how the Shakti has been abused and imprisoned in its very birthplace, the karmic land of India, is to understand how women are not allowed to enter certain temples. They're not allowed to enter other temples when they're menstruating. Women, yes, women, Shakti themselves are not allowed in temples. This rule, of course, has been made and perpetrated and enforced by men. Shakti sadhana is the highest form of Indian spirituality. It is a core foundation of Tantra Vidya. It is Sri Vidya herself. It is Durga Saptashati. It is Saundarya Lahari. It is the Bindu on top of the Sri Yantra. It is the pinnacle. It is the highest. There's nothing higher. There's nothing bigger. There's nothing more eternal than the Shakti, which are represented in all the different forms, whether it's in the physical form, or in the form of mandal, or in the form of architecture, or in the form of sculpture, temples, Shakti peeths, and so on. As I moved along on my own spiritual path, gradually, quicker and quicker, I realized that this Shakti sadhana is really where I felt most at home. It is the one that gave me most comfort to be most at ease, to be most relaxed, to be most meditative, to be in the lap, in the bosom, in the womb of Devi herself. To surrender to her completely is what Shakti sadhana is. And in return, I received nothing but blessings and benevolence and relaxation and meditation and peace of mind. So men and women, we all need to honor this feminine energy inside each of us and around all of us. We need to respect that. We need to love that energy. We need to nurture, nourish, and bow down to this beautiful, sublime, powerful Shakti that is the reason, the cause why we are here. Ya Devi Sarvabhuteshu Shakti Rupena Samastisa Namastasyai 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 Namo Namaha. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.
Mangalakari